You have Joyful Entrepreneur. You have Before She Knew Jesus.
I want to give other women that opportunity to tell their story as well.
If you need to be activated, and if you're not yet, come on.
It's a journey. It's not, we all don't arrive, right?
You have Sacrificial Love with your husband.
So this journey started with me writing my own solo book.
Welcome to 30 Minutes of Power, a podcast dedicated to educate, encourage, and inspire godly people to use their power to empower others. Join your hosts, Jory O'Neill and Nicole Salter, as they share powerful insights on how you can use your God-given talents and gifts to make a positive impact in the world.
Welcome to a lovely, wonderful episode of 30 Minutes of Power, TOP, your one-stop shop for all things resilience, mindset, and motivation. It's your girl, Jory O'Neill. What's going on, everybody? And I'm super excited because I got a surprise for you. Yes, so some of you may have heard that I have been blessed to co-author a book called Before She Knew Jesus. And today, I'm interviewing one of my co-authors, baby. Yes, Miss Christina Blincoe. What's going on, sis? How you doing?
So excited to be here with you, Jory. This is so great.
All right, so we're going to jump right in. We're not going to pull any punches. We're going to go straight into transformation. We're going to talk about her journey. We're going to talk about her awesome chapter, living in the truth of his love. And I want to share with you, Christina is not just an amazing writer, but she's also an entrepreneur. And so she runs a business, and we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. But before we do anything, I want to give you an opportunity to share with the listeners a little bit about yourself, Christina. I'm going to brag on you this entire episode, but I want to give you an opportunity to share some things maybe that I won't share or that I don't know, a little bit about you, and then we're going to go straight into your testimony and your transformation on how things changed once you learned and found Jesus.
Yes. So thank you so much for having me here. This is such a blessing to, be here and sit with your listeners. And so I'm Christina Blincoe. I've spent 30 years in corporate America, still here, still activated. But I've also started an entrepreneur business 10 years ago called Sweet Streams Lavender. It's a lavender farm, an online business boutique. We have candles, soaps, all the good stuff for your health and wellness. Most importantly, God has stripped all of that from me. And he said, you are my child of God. You're a child of God. You're a sister. You're here. And I have a bigger purpose for you. And we're going to unlock some of that. But, part of my journey is that, we're not just defined by being a mom, being a wife, being a worker. We are called to do something for him to build the kingdom. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about that transformation, just physically and mentally, and I hope it will inspire you to also ask questions. And maybe I'll be back here again to talk more about marriage or anything else you want to hear. So
listen, we're going to get into all the things, but you just alluded to the transformation that occurred. So your chapter, from what was shared, the synopsis that I got, it actually captures a really profound transformation, just both in your life as well as in your walk with God. So can you share a little bit of what your life was like before your relationship with Christ?
Yeah, so the book we're talking about is Before She Knew Jesus, and it's really, as we walk through our life, I was raised in the church. I had a good family that kind of helped guide me to church when we needed it as kids, right? But it was very stale. Life happens and things get busy, and you just go to him when you need something, or you're like, man, things are falling apart. I really need you. And that's not the relationship he wants with us. And so I recently was introduced to this word, sanctification. And to me, it's about my journey, right? It's about living a life that is pure and holy and takes us back to him. That when people see us, they're like, what is different about that girl? She's got something and I need to find out, and so that's what I want. I want a life that is very close connected with him and walking in the steps that he wants me to walk. And so as I learned this word and more about what that meant in my life, I realized that I was a half Christian. I was like living in I had one foot out and one foot in, and I was going to church on Sunday, but then on Monday I was different. And so I really compartmentalized my life. It was like Christina, as a lavender lady, and then Christina as the corporate worker, and then Christina on Sunday. So I really had all of these personas that I was exhausted trying to be all these different people to all these different folks. And so when I realized that there's just one Christina and she is called by him to do something, and that might be in the corporate setting, right? It might be just giving my book to one person so it could change their life, just that one person to know him. That's what he's calling us to do, is not to change everything and go after a new career, but really try to figure out in the present moment, what has he given me and what can I do with that? I think in the corporate we're kind of like, well, we gotta leave this place to become this other thing. And I think he's like working in me saying, no, I've called you to stay here and you're gonna stay here until my work is done. And so I have to be patient in that, right? I can't be, distracted by all the shiny things, like I am sometimes, but I think he's saying, who is that you're meant to be there for? And really trying to unpack that in my own life through my wellness and my mindset.
I love that. You shared a lot, and I feel like there's a lot of overlap. You could have possibly, not possibly, you definitely could have been part of more than enough. Just the identity and the shifting and trying to figure out, it makes sense. Purpose is over here, and then pursuit is over here. And are your pursuits in alignment with the purpose that God has given you? And I think that's a space that a lot of us struggle with, to find the alignment, right? So I love the way that you shared that. You were Lavender Christina, and then you're corporate Christina, but there's just one Christina, and that's the one that God created and endowed with specific gifts to create specific purpose and pursuit. So I love that. After readers look at your chapter, what is one thing that you hope they take away from it?
So I think so many of us are struggling with our weight or what we're eating, or maybe we're struggling with some health issues. And I just want you to know that if you were like, what's the answer? What is that thing that she knows that has changed her life through that? It's very clear in the chapter that it was laying it at his feet. Asking him to take it away and to not have any more control over it. I was really just trying to do all the things on my own. And when I finally just laid this piece of my life down for him and said, I cannot do this on my own strength. I, have never been able to lose weight. The scale just keeps going up. And I'm like, what's happening? And I knew that it was something happening inside that was not anything that I was doing or not doing, but it was really a hormonal issue that I needed to really address. And I really had never heard about this, before. It wasn't something that people talked about. It was just like, okay, once you get older, guess what? You're going to have hot flashes, or you're going to have these things that happen to you, but we don't really talk about how do we manage this? How do we get more sleep? How do we show up with our best self, because we're just exhausted and we have no energy. And so we really unpack that in the chapter. And I really just want you to know there's no secret exercise. There's no secret food. There's no secret pills. It's really about laying it down for him to help you through it. And what he did in that process is he brought me the people that could change it and help me and educate me properly, without drugs, without, all the medications, but to really get that wellness journey going so that he could be the success, right? He could be glorified in that. And instead of, in his own awesome, beautiful way, instead of losing a couple pounds, which is what I thought would happen, he's like, how about 50 before 50? And so I lost 50 pounds before I was 50 years old. And I think that's just God's humor. It's his love. And it just shows how he magnifies what we are asking him when we do truly lay it down at his feet.
Wow. Okay. So the secret is surrender.
Yes.
So that I want to frame it as a secret only because I think it's something that a lot of people might find intangible. The ability to let go and to truly, not just for namesake, not as a cute slogan, not as a t-shirt or a bumper sticker, but to truly let go and let God. So that's awesome. When you were sharing, the first scripture that came to mind was Matthew 28:11. Come unto me, ye who are heavy laden and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon me and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble at heart, and you will find rest for your soul. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. That's the first scripture that came to mind when you were sharing about your transformation and your health journey. So I'm gonna switch gears because I think it's all connected. You have built quite a business over the last decade, my friend. So why don't you share a little bit about your business? So she has a business called Sweet Streams Lavender, and so I look at it as a blending of your entrepreneurial skills and giftedness that you've acquired in the corporate world, and then your faith. So she has an entire farm, y'all, like a whole farm. Like, I don't know nobody just like, hey, I'm in corporate. I think I want to go do a farm. Like, so
Play in the dirt.
I so just please, what inspired you to start a farm, and how do you keep Jesus at the center of your business with one, I guess, one hat that you wear in corporate, and then now one as an entrepreneur? What inspired you to start it, and then how do you keep Christ at the center of it?
Yeah, so we started it 10 years ago. So we bought some land, and my husband and I, we had gotten married in Maui 17 years ago, and that was a beautiful journey in itself. But we found a lavender farm. That was the first lavender farm that I've ever been to. And so it was on my mind. And as we bought this land, my husband was like, what can we do with it? What can we do to bless other people? How can we make money? Like an exit plan. Um, you know, and so we just kept coming back to this idea of a lavender farm, but there were several things that were really, really important to the core of what we did, or we weren't even going to get started. And one of those was community. It had to be about bringing people together and having community with each other, whether it was a yoga event or a writing event or, having a wedding. We just really, really wanted to. We've even had table, like where we have farm to table and we have people come out and share a meal. But all of these things was around this idea of community and sharing the gifts and the provision that he's given us, right? Number two was we never wanted to go into debt. We wanted to use our corporate funds to fund our business. And it was really important to us to do that and to invest in what we were saying was important to us. We didn't want to get a loan or anything like that. And it's been tough because as a business, you have ups and downs and you have shows that come up where you need to have a lot of product, and we make all of our products ourselves right at the farm. So we are the artisans as well. But you can't do that when you don't have any money, and so it's been very difficult to be able to keep that going with, we started with 5 products and now we have 46. And so it's mind blowing, but also it's been a juggle between, being good stewards of that money. And I would say through that journey, we have to go slower in our growth. We can't have all the things all at once. And so that's been hard. That's been a little bit of a patience, thing for me, to learn that. But I think, and then most importantly, we wanted to give back. So we give back a lot of our products every year to different organizations, where we can bless them. And so right now we are selling the Joyful Entrepreneur book, my first book, that's volume 3 on our website, but all the proceeds are going to the LA fires. My son lives in LA, and that's what we're doing as a company. And so I think it's given us the platform to be able to reach more people and to be able to share our story. And, for us, it's always been about doing it together. So it's always been my husband and I, and if we don't do it together, then we don't want anything to do with it, right? So the author journey has been very similar to that, where I've been writing in these cohort books, and now I get an opportunity to write with my husband in Sacrificial Love. And I can't wait for that to come out in May, for you guys to all be blessed by our marriage relationship. And when you say I do may not look like the I do that you are in. So it's all kinds of juicy. You got to get that one too.
Well. I think I shall have you back, but I host a different podcast, and I don't mind cross collaborating because it's both of my podcasts called The Godly Man's Perspective on Marriage. And so I'm looking for amazing couples to interview. Because I believe that one of the major areas that the enemy attacks are marriages, and statistics are an incredible example of the resolve that the enemy has to ensure that households are dysfunctional, that marriages are wrecked, that families are torn apart. Because if he can get the marriage bed, then everything else after that is up for grabs, unfortunately. So we'll talk about that offline. I
Yeah.
like that. I think I want to ask two questions concerning your ability to run a business debt free, because that's almost unheard of, especially in the entrepreneurial space. I know people get grants, they get angel investors, and they get donors and funders, take out credit cards, maybe small business loans. But to run a company, and it seems as though because you and your husband have been able to do it together, you've run a joyful, debt free business. Is this correct?
Yes. Yes.
All right. All right. We're going to have to hold a whole nother podcast on that one, because I know that you were an author in Joyful Entrepreneur 3. And so I want to ensure that for this particular topic and podcast that I really want to stick to your journey in terms of just now, third book coming out in May. Last book came out in November. Like, you've been on quite a ride the last 12 months.
Yes. Yes.
From
It's
no
been
books to about to be 3 books
great.
in 12 months.
Right.
Look at
Yeah.
God.
So I think that's what, I think that's the true message here is that when you walk in obedience with him, it's like nothing I've ever experienced. Like I've always been trying to do it myself, and, when I walked through my health journey, I ended up in the hospital for 5 days and he basically just said, all of those things that you're doing, we need to slow it down. And here's 5 days that you're going to slow it down and you're going to point it back to me. And so sitting in that hospital, I cannot tell you how scared I was. I had, my husband had to be home to take care of my son and not having anyone there. I was just completely isolated. It was, I just can't even, there's no words of how lonely I felt in that
Mm.
room. But then yet he was there and he was showing up. He basically was writing these chapters before I even picked up the pen. And so that's why, these aren't my words. These aren't my words in the Joyful book. It's just my experience. And how did she become an entrepreneur? Well, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain behind that business that we started, right? There was divorce that we both experienced. And so I think when people see me, they're like, wow, this girl's got it together. She's got it all figured out. But I just really want to be humble with each of you to say, I don't have it figured out, but I have figured out the one that made me, and he's the one who's calling me. And so when I go in obedience, I'm following him. I didn't know where the money was coming from when I did that first book or the second book or the third book now with my husband, right? And I didn't even know what we were going to write about. I thought, man, we're going to get divorced over this book if we really write what we need to. But he just shows up and he gave us the time. We did a staycation. We put on a fire. We lit a candle, one of our candles, of course, because we're biased. But then we just started writing and he wrote his part. I wrote mine from my voice. And then as we look at marriage, and this is a different podcast, but as we look at marriage, I needed his words to be first in that chapter. So when you see the book, it's not about Christina. She's at the very end. It's about what is his voice? What is he trying to say to other men? And just lifting him up in that process. And, he's the head of the household, and I really wanted his voice to be heard more than mine. You guys have heard from me, but he is a very shy partner, but a very supportive partner in all of the things that I've been doing. And he knows it's God leading us. So, we don't understand it. We're like, okay, we're running this business. Are we supposed to keep this business going? Are we supposed to do this author thing? We don't know. We're just stepping every single day into what he's calling us to do. And we know he'll reveal it when it's the time.
Amen. Amen. I love that. I too am married to an individual who uses his words sparingly. He's very matter of factly and very succinct. I can be wordy and long winded, hence the 3 podcasts. But he does not mince words and he doesn't waste them. So I dig that, and I love that your desire is for his words to come first. I think that's a special space for a woman who is seen in probably a lot of arenas as top and go getter, and to hear you and to even feel you, feel the humility that comes from your words and the honor that you have for your husband. That's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So the book is just one part of the collective mission, right? We're also wondering more about future projects. So you have Joyful Entrepreneur, you have Before She Knew Jesus, you have Sacrificial Love with your husband. Will there be an opportunity for a Christina solo project?
Yeah, so this journey started with me writing my own solo book. But I was so scared to let that out into the world that I decided that, this anthology was a safer route. And so you're getting pieces of what that fullness and that book is about. But what was so beautiful and also so crazy was when I asked my husband to read my solo book, just a chapter, just see if I'm on the right page. This is way before Joyful Entrepreneur. He said, "Well, do you want to read mine?" And I was like, "What? I got goosebumps. What is happening? Are we living in the same house? Like, who are you? Like, what is happening?" And he literally had his phone and he was writing a book to men about being demasculated and how they really feel in this new world that we're creating, where women are go-getters and we're doing things and we're activated. But he's like, what are we supposed to be doing? What's our role now? But it was from a very beautiful God lens. His relationship with God is so strong, and I just love, like, I get to walk life with him. And he shows up for me every single day. But, that's only by God's grace we're able to do that for each other. But he had a book, I had a book. So yes, there will be more books coming out. But I'm also playing with this idea of, and you're the first to hear, the joy mindset. And that will be kicking off. I've already trying to build the website and all of that, but it's going to be retreats where women can come and write their story, and then we'll be able to publish it together. So I'm super excited about that, because writing has always been something that has been my outlet to communicate to God through journaling and through Christian music. And so I want to give other women that opportunity to tell their story as well.
I love that. We are very much in alignment with that. That was part of my journey 3 years ago. After I published my first book was self-published. It's called History Determines Her Story. And I got to share it at a women's conference. And one of the young ladies in the audience said, "I've always wanted to write, but I'm so afraid to share my story." Her story is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It's called Longing for Love. And she writes it from the vantage point of her as a teen. She experienced tons of hurt and abuse, and she wrote it as a fiction. So it's a characterization, but it's her story. She wrote it from her journals. And being able to walk with her through that was, all kinds of special. You talk about someone trusting you. That was total and absolute trust. And from there, I've been I've been on the path, and I'm just like, if you need to be activated, and if you're not yet, come on. That's I'm a fire starter for Jesus. That's what I do. So come on, and let's get these embers blowing, and let's get you moving. Because Daddy has work for you to do that only you are perfectly positioned to do. And so I love that. I love that. We gonna play together, Christina.
Yes,
I'm
we are.
convinced. We gonna play together. So I want to give 3 quick takeaways for the listeners. I love to recap what was shared. Sometimes, people get lost in the sauce of the story, and so of the things that you shared, there are 3 things that stuck out to me. One, keep Christ at the center of every decision. Your weight loss journey, just your health and wellness journey, your marriage, your business, your corporate business, your entrepreneurship, even this writing endeavor that you're going into. Christ is at the center of all your decisions. And I love that. I think if nothing else, that is one thing I hope every single person listening to this takes, right? Keep Christ at the center of every decision. You are striving for impact and not income. For you to have gone debt free in your business, meaning that you are running a very lean business, and you are using your personal monies to then fund your business. So this isn't something you're doing on the side. This is something you absolutely believe in, and I think the impact speaks for itself. The ability that you're giving other people to enjoy not just nice fragrances and nice things, but then on the other side, on the philanthropic, right, where you're now using proceeds from a book that you invested in to then bless other people who've experienced the tragedy of the LA fires. I think that's moving. And the last thing that I picked up from what you shared was it seems like you're not stopping in terms of pursuing spiritual and personal growth. It seems like you're just getting started.
That's right.
So I love that. So never stop learning, never stop growing. I love that. So if anyone looking to transform their life, say maybe aligning their work with their faith, maybe it's thinking to go into entrepreneurship, maybe it's even thinking about sharing their story on some platform, whether it be podcasting or book writing, where is one place that you suggest that they start? I feel like I know the answer, but I just want you to say it out loud.
Well, we talked about going to Christ for that answer, right? So we got to do that. We got to check in. But, for me, it's about community. And if you can get around other people, asking them, can I be a part of your podcast? Can I be a part of this writing experience? Can I be around the people that he has called us to be around instead of just sitting in our circumstance and going, there's no one here that's going to be able to help me mature or help me get to where I need to go. I think there's a lot of people that have already done what we want to do. And so it's how do I leverage that and learn faster? And so, I believe that when we go to him in prayer, we have to be ready and willing to activate. So when my health wasn't right, when my mental state wasn't right, when I felt overwhelmed, you can't work in that capacity. So you have to fix those things. I call it clean up your side of the street, right? Before you can do something for someone else. So it's like put on that mask first, right? We have to take care of ourselves. We have to figure out how to get around the people that can help us take care of ourselves. And then once we are healed and he has healed us, then it's time. And he will do it on his time. So we might say, it was yesterday, God, I wanted to be out, right? Or whatever it is, I wanted to be healed. But he says, no, you have some more work to do in that moment. And I need you to understand so that you don't go back to those old ways, that you are clean and you can go and move for other people. And so he's still working in me. I'm all smiles and I'm all happy, but he is still working with me every single day. And, knowing that my son's going back tonight to LA and to be living there and being around all of the things, breathing in that air. It's a hard journey for a mama, and so I still walk with him and give it all to him, even my child. So it's a journey. It's not, we all don't arrive, right? It's walking it with each other.
I love that. And that's the process of sanctification. It is a continual renewal, continual sharpening. I love that. So To recap, faith transformation, joyful business leadership, and the story behind before she knew Jesus. Thank you so much, Christina, for being on the podcast today. And you can learn more about Christina, her amazing work at Sweet Streams Lavender by visiting sweetstreamslavender.com. You can also connect with her on Instagram and Facebook at Sweet Streams Lavender. The book, Before She Knew Jesus, is set to release next month, people, February 2025. It is a powerful read that we believe will inspire and encourage you. Thank you again, Christina. Audience, till next time, be a perfect person using your power to empower others. Till next time, people. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to 30 Minutes of Power. We hope you found today's episode informative and inspiring. To stay connected with us and continue the conversation, follow us on Instagram at 30 Minutes of Power or email us at azironsharpensiron@gmail.com. Don't forget to visit our website at azisi.org to learn more about our mission and how you can get involved. Remember, your power can make a difference in the world. Let's be folks out there using our power to empower others.
30 minutes of power.